First, we're going to look at naming binary covalent compounds. Binary means there's just two different, oh, this is the wrong table. Oops, my bad. I couldn't figure out why that was so small. Naming binary covalent compounds. Binary covalent compounds just have two different types of elements in them. You know, there's, for example, there's phosphorus and chlorine. That's binary. There's two different elements. And the way we name these covalent compounds, first of all, we recognize them as a covalent compound. You look at the two elements, you look at the periodic table, and you recognize phosphorus is a nonmetal, chlorine is a nonmetal. This must be a covalent compound. I need to use the naming structure or the naming system for covalent compounds to name this. Okay? If I was using the ionic system, this would be phosphorus chloride, but it's not an ionic compound. It's a covalent compound. Covalent compounds, we never know the number of the different types of atoms in the compound, so we have to use prefixes. We don't use prefixes for ionic compounds. We know how many elements are going to be in there based on the charge. So in this case, this particular element, first of all, or excuse me, compound, I recognize it as a covalent nonmetal. I name it. The first element is always just going to get the elemental name phosphorus. Whoops, I'm rushing. Phosphorus. And then the second element is just going to be the elemental name with the IDE suffix again, but this time I need to use a prefix to identify the number. So it's going to be phosphorus trichloride. In this case, carbon, if I only have one element and it's the first element, I don't have to use the mono prefix. But if on the second element, I do. So in this case, I don't say monocarbon monoxide. I say carbon mon, and I don't say monoxide. When there's a vowel that follows the O in the mono prefix, I leave that second O off. So it's monoxide, okay, instead of monoxide. In this case, it's carbon. There's two oxygens, so I use the di. Carbon dioxide. In this case, nitrogen monoxide, nitrogen monoxide. It's telling me that there's one oxygen, again, monoxide. Sorry, I'm writing so big and sloppy. And this last one, what's the name here? Okay, this time I have two of the first, so it's going to be di. The only time you leave off the prefix on the first one is if it's one. All the other times you have to use the prefix. So it's dinitrogen pent. And again, since the element starts with a vowel, I don't say pentaoxide, I say pentoxide. I leave off the A if it's going to be vowel. Okay? So that's the deal. They're pretty straightforward. You just have to memorize the prefixes, know when to use the prefixes. You don't use the mono on the first one. You only use prefixes on the first one if there's more than one, the first one being the first element. And you put the IDE suffix on again, even in the case of the covalent compounds. So you just need to practice naming those. The other, they're covalent compounds because they share electrons when they form the bonds. They make unique molecules, so we can also call them molecules or covalent compounds. Those words can be used interchangeably, and we use prefixes to name them when it's a binary covalent compound.